Every town has its secrets.
People that sneak around get caught.
Tara's life, her social life, was very complicated.
She competed in 19 pageants.
Tara Grinstead.
She was magnetic.
She was supposed to come to her mother's.
And she said Tara was missing. No one knows where she is.
Mother started getting frantic.
We checked every well in the county
in which a body could be deposited.
Swamps and ponds and abandoned wells.
We don't know what happened to her.
I saw a latex glove that seemed out of place.
We have identifiable prints and DNA.
She had been in love with him, for 6 years.
It's been rough lately with Marcus.
He joined the Army, trained to be a ranger.
He also went to Iraq and Afghanistan.
There were rumors going around town.
When was the last time you actually saw her?
She woke me by knocking on my windows.
I said, "What the hell have you done with my sister?"
She was very irrational. She told me that she would commit suicide.
We haven't eliminated anyone.
I think that somebody she knew.
This is the worst thing that we have ever been through in our entire lives.
Scylla was like American Gothic.
The town will never be the same.
It's unbelievable. This is an incredible mystery.
It's a mystery that still shocks the small southern town of Scylla, Georgia. Seemingly without a trace, 30-year-old Tara Grinstead vanished, leaving few clues but a long list of possible suspects. I went to Scylla for Fox News when she first disappeared in the fall of 2005. The popular teacher and beauty queen had a complicated romantic life and was heartbroken over a recent breakup with a long-term boyfriend. We went back to look at the clues for new leads in her disappearance. Tara's case continues to baffle authorities and her family. Somebody knows something.
Scylla is a small town America.
Located smack dab in the center of the Peach State, Scylla, Georgia is a town of 4,000 people. It's steeped in Southern history.
Scylla's quiet and we got 2 red lights and it's just small.
There's a lot of acreage and farmland and just ponds.
A lot of, farm work here.
The area is famous for growing sweet potatoes, and since 1961, Scylla pays tribute to the crop with the Miss Georgia Sweet Potato Festival and Pageant.
I've been here all my life. It's a good place to grow up. It's a good place to raise kids. They talk about each other like brothers and sisters.
Somehow, whether you're kin to them or you work with them, everybody's connected.
If one person has a problem, there's somebody there to help them. But on the other hand, everybody knows everybody's business. People that sneak around get caught.
Every family has its secrets. Every town has its secrets.
We always found the people there to be very warm and friendly, always willing to do anything that they could do to help somebody.
It was in 1999 when 24-year-old Tara Grinstead moved to Scylla. It wasn't a huge move for her. She had grown up in another small town just 50 miles north.
Tara grew up in Hawkinsville, Georgia, and she was a very energetic little girl.
After divorcing his wife, Faye, Tara's father, Billy, married Connie Grinstead in 1977. Connie became the stepmother to both of Billy's 2 daughters, Tara, who was only 3, and her older sister, Anita.
Tara was always setting goals for herself. She seemed to always know what she wanted in life. And she was always willing to work as hard as she needed to achieve her goals. And she never got discouraged, no matter how long it took.
Contestant number 2, Tara Grinstead.
Tara started competing in pageants when she was in high school.
She started doing pageants just so she could get scholarship money to go to college.
Anita Gaddis is Tara's older sister.
We didn't come from a family with a lot of means. So that was one reason that she started doing pageants.
Tara Grinstead.
We were very close considering the age difference. I was 14 when she was born.
Growing up together in Hawkinsville, big sister Anita supported Tara's pageant dreams.
She decided that she would like to be a contestant in the Miss Georgia pageant one day. But in order to be able to do that, you had to win one of the Miss Georgia preliminary pageants. And to show you what a determined person she was, she competed in 19 preliminary pageants in a 4-year period.
Number 2.
Tara's determination paid off. In 1999, Tara was crowned Miss Tifton, held in nearby Tifton, Georgia.
The night that Tara won the Miss Tifton pageant was probably one of the happiest times in her life.
She'll be going to the Miss Georgia pageant, representing all of you.
She went to compete in the Miss Georgia pageant, which had been her goal for 4 years.
That same year, Tara competed with her usual commitment and focus in the statewide competition.
You're judged on swimwear, evening wear, talent. You have an interview. It's a lengthy process and a lot of things you have to prepare for.
What have you done to prepare for this?
What haven't I done? I have worked on my interview. I have exercised. I've shopped for clothes and clothes and clothes, and I just tried to get prepared for a lot of hard work the week at Miss Georgia.
What was her talent?
She sang. She was an amazing singer. Very exciting time for our family.
Sadly, Tara didn't win Miss Georgia in 1999. And though pageants would long remain a passion, she also had other ambitions.
From the time she was a little girl, she always said that she wanted to be a history teacher. She went to Georgia Southwestern State University and graduated with her degree in education and then got her master's degree.
The Hawkinsville gal got her first teaching job just down Route 11 in the nearby town of Osceola in Irwin County. The two towns are friendly rivals.
Once she got there, she fell in love with the town.
We are a very small community, so if you work at our school, you aren't just someone who comes in, teaches a class, and walks out the door.
Wendy McFarland was Tara's fellow teacher at Irwin County High School.
You engross yourself in the school. You go to extracurricular activities and hang out with your kids after school. And she was someone who just really embraced our way of thinking.
Miss Grinstead through school. She was my cheerleading coach and also my 9th grade geography teacher.
Teacher Amy Grist is also one of Tara's former students.
I just really admired her as a person. Instantly, I was so drawn to her, and I just thought, this is somebody I want to be like, and she was magnetic.
In addition to a job in Osceola, Tara also found love. Her object of affection was the handsome 24-year-old stepson of her school's assistant superintendent.
Marcus Harper was the boyfriend that she met maybe about a year, 6 months or so after she had moved to Osceola. He was a police officer for the Osceola Police Department.
And you thought when you first met him, Marcus was what?
He was really nice. He spent Christmas with us, exchanged a lot of stories about his, police work and things he did. He seemed a little bit cocky, but she seemed very happy with him at the time.
A couple years into their relationship, Marcus changed careers.
He joined the Army, trained to be a ranger.
He also went to Iraq and Afghanistan and was a ranger?
Right.
So there were long periods of time when they did not get to see or talk to each other, and I'm sure that was hard on the relationship. And Tara was really ready for marriage, and Marcus was not. She had told him that she felt like that she needed to move on if things were not going to work out. I think she was kind of trying to maybe put a little bit of pressure on him to commit to the marriage.
She had been in love with him, for 6 years, and even though she broke up with him, she just had really a hard time letting him go.
In October 2005, Marcus returned from deployment and was seen driving around town. Though not a couple, Tara was devastated.
Thursday morning, October 20th, we exchanged emails. I had just sent her one just to say, I was just thinking about you today, hope you have a good day, and I love you. And she wrote back and said, thanks, it's been rough lately with Marcus. He's back in town and he didn't let me know and he doesn't want to see me anymore. And she said, it's been really difficult.
Saturday, October 22nd, 2005, still in emotional turmoil, Tara nevertheless had a full day of activities planned.
She had been helping students get ready for the pageant, which was the sweet potato pageant.
Doing their hair, doing their makeup, and they were at her house.
That evening after the pageant, Tara went to a friend's house for a southern barbecue. By all accounts, the distraught woman seemed on the upswing.
When Tara walked in the door that night, she was smiling, she seemed happy. Well, the old Tara's back.
The barbecue was the last time the teacher and beauty queen was ever seen. During the last week of October 2005, the sleepy town of Osceola had woken up and sprung into action.
All right, in line.
30-year-old Tara Grinstead, their neighbor, teacher, and loved one, had vanished without a trace.
After the day she was declared missing, which was on that Monday, the whole town immediately, centered around, okay, let's figure out what we can do. We even met at the high school, and we all searched.
It was crazy because we all went looking for her and did flyers.
I can't tell you how many places we rode and dumpsters we looked in. I mean, it's not a huge town, but it's like a large area of country land.
But what makes it very difficult is the number of bodies of water.
There are a lot of swamps and ponds and just places that is difficult to get to, and they searched as best they could. There are a lot of abandoned wells in Irwin County.
Countless wells, both used and unused, that in which a body could be deposited.
We checked every well in the county.
The investigation immediately focused on the few mysterious clues found at Tara's house.
I left my patrol car and began walking toward the front door along the pathway. Lying in the grass, I saw a latex glove that seemed out of place and not normal.
That's something you don't find on a crime scene every day.
I take it a latex glove would be something unusual in her front yard?
It was a blue latex glove, one that you would see worn by, law enforcement. No, she had no latex gloves anywhere in the house.
I walked also in the backyard and saw that her dog was still here.
The next door neighbor told me that she heard Dolly barking about 2 a.m. that Sunday morning, and she said it was very common for Dolly to bark off and on during the night, but that particular night she said that Dolly just kept on barking. She would not stop.
2 weeks after Tara disappeared, I was in Osceola. Her sister Anita took me into the house. When the police first came into this living room, did they find anything tipped over?
No, they did not.
Have you heard anything about whether the kitchen looked out of sorts in any way?
Other than there were still items from the beauty pageant. She had helped 6 or 8 girls get ready on Saturday for a beauty pageant, so she was doing hair, makeup. Other than this thing in the kitchen, it basically how it normally looks.
The bed looked as if it had been slept in or it was unmade. There was a lamp right next to the bed that the shade was askew. It looked as if it was off angle, broken at the base.
The lamp. Is this the lamp that's broken?
This is the lamp, correct.
All right. It actually looks like it could have fallen on the floor. It's got a piece missing. And there were other clues.
There were a lot of people talking about seeing a black truck in Tara's yard. I even talked to one of the neighbors who lived just about a block away, who actually said he saw a black truck there that he did not recognize. I don't think that they've been able to track down the driver of a black truck, and we don't have any knowledge of who it could be.
Of course, a black pickup truck in rural Georgia is exceptionally common, and we didn't have any better descriptors than that. So that was something we certainly kept in context and attempted to identify, but we weren't able to conclude anything based on that.
Anyone you know had that kind of vehicle?
Marcus had a truck like that at the time.
So obviously some people wanted to say that it was him, but the neighbor said it was not the same type truck that Marcus was driving.
Maybe not Marcus's truck, but as Tara's ex-boyfriend, the investigation immediately focused on him.
Marcus Harper was the love of Tara's life, and he was someone that we certainly had to look at very, very closely, and we did from the outset.
The police weren't alone. Tara's sister Anita also had Marcus in her sights. She encountered him at the Acilla Police Department the Monday Tara was reported missing.
I hollered out the door and just got in his face, and I said, "What the hell have you done with my sister?"
When Tara Grinstead vanished in Acilla, Georgia in 2005, the investigation almost immediately focused on her ex-boyfriend, Marcus Harper. Marcus was a former police officer turned Army Ranger who was home in Acilla at the time. In those anxious days after Tara disappeared, Marcus spoke to me about their relationship.
We dated for about 5.5 years.
When you say dated, was it a serious or a casual relationship?
It was a commitment. We did not date other people, but I was honest with her when I said I had no intentions of marriage because of my career.
Did there come a time when this dating relationship ended?
Yes. She told me she felt like it was time for her to move on.
And you're getting dumped, essentially?
More or less.
Were you upset by that at all?
At first, we continued to remain friends, but I felt a little rejected at first, but I brushed my shoulders off, went on and started dating other people. She asked several times about rekindling the relationship, and I told her we could stay friends, but I didn't want any kind of commitment.
So then you were rejecting her essentially at this point?
Pretty much.
Did she accept that?
No.
How many times have you talked to the GBI?
4, 5 times.
They've asked you for things and asked you to talk,
Yes.
and you've provided all of it?
Yes.
At the time, I also spoke with Marcus's lawyer, Thomas Pajadas.
Marcus called me one day when this first broke out and told me that he had been going into the jail, and Tara's sister there, and had made an accusation against him.
I said, "What the hell have you done with my sister?"
He felt concerned that because that accusation had been made down at the jail in front of the officers, he might need some assistance or somebody to sit with him on the thing.
Is there anything that your client has not agreed to do that the GBI has asked?
Not a thing.
Marcus Harper was cooperative, and we secured DNA samples, polygraph examination, fingerprints, all the sorts of things that we did with anybody else associated with Tara that we deemed important enough, and that's what we did with Mr. Harper.
Marcus gave police an alibi for October 22nd, the night Tara was last seen. He first visited the White Horse Bar, a watering hole in the nearby town of Fitzgerald. He then spent the late evening driving around Acilla in a cop car with a police officer friend who was on night patrol, something that was allowed in the small town.
With Mr. Harper's alibi, we interviewed everyone that we could identify as having associated with him during the period in question, and that alibi held up.
When was the last time you actually saw her?
The 14th of October. It was on a Friday morning.
About what time?
Around 9 o'clock.
And what were the circumstances?
She woke me by knocking on my windows.
Is that something common where she would knock on your windows or not? Or is that unusual?
No, it's not unusual, but she was crying and was upset about something. She was very irrational, and she told me that if she found out I was dating someone, she would commit suicide.
I didn't want to think that, but in the back of my mind, I think it's possible for anybody.
There were rumors going around town that Tara possibly had committed suicide, and I think that started because everybody knew she was upset about the situation with Marcus. I have never believed for 1 minute that Tara committed suicide.
We reached out to Marcus for a new statement on Tara's disappearance, but did not receive a reply.
When we looked into Tara's background, we immediately learned that she was a 30-year-old beautiful woman that had a social life, and we identified about a half a dozen men with whom she had gone out or some sort of romantic involvement recently.
The investigators also looked at a former student of Tara's named Anthony Vickers.
There was a 20-year-old former student with whom Tara had some sort of relationship. that was very suspicious to people that knew her. Most suspected there was a romantic involvement.
I think he was very infatuated with Tara. She had spent extra time tutoring him. I think he had kind of a bad family life, so he saw that as that nurturing as maybe something romantic.
There was an incident where Anthony came over to Tara's house and was beating on the door and trying to get her to open the door.
Did the student actually get into the house?
No, he did not.
So was she home at the time?
She was home. Neighbors actually called the police. She was just trying to talk him into leaving before the police got here, but neighbors actually called the police.
This individual had been arrested for a criminal trespass-related charge at Tara's residence a little over 6 months before she disappeared. So this was something we certainly had to look at.
There was more.
We had established that she had a relationship with a police officer from another jurisdiction.
That officer was Heath Dykes. He was the man Tara's mother asked to check on her daughter that Sunday when she failed to show up for lunch. Anything unusual about him at all?
No.
Not at all. You don't suspect him of anything?
Oh, no. I've known him his whole life. But he was very distraught over her disappearance because they were really close friends.
A lot of people try to throw him into this scenario. He didn't have anything to do with this. He did not.
We have concluded that many people that we have looked at who had close associations with her, and many of them have passed polygraphs and have alibis that we have not been able to break. Tara's life, her social life, was very complicated. We spent an enormous amount of time discerning fact from fiction that was complicated because of the nature of the life she was living.